Hello, Internet! I am Torma Ximnus, and welcome to, finally, the second in my series of RWBY Amity Arena videos. Last time, we went over the general overview of RWBY Amity Arena, going over the different pages, what can be done in the different pages, and what the different pages are for. Now we're going to go over some of the characters in RWBY Amity Arena. And where better place to start than with the training grounds, which are the characters that we immediately get. And honestly, some of the characters you get from here can become mainstays throughout your campaign. But let's keep the jaw flap and grim gaw down to a minimum and go right in! For simplicity's sake, I will be going over each character by category. They have been categorized first by the main type of character they are, whether they are hunters, non-hunters, or grim. And I will then be covering each area by the subcategory of how much aura it takes to summon each character. The first person we have for the training grounds among the hunters is Iceweiss, and she is exactly as she sounds. Now, for those of you who remember RWBY Volume 1, she has a penchant for, how you say, creating big ice glaciers to trap things, or maybe protect herself if it's all around her, as seen in the Weiss Volume 4 character short. And this carries over into RWBY Amity Arena as well. However, it's going to be less a solid structure and more an area of effect freezing attack. So imagine ice dust powder that is all around the air, and then it gets activated all at once. Now, this is an area of effect attack with limited range, but it does cover a pretty fair-sized area for when it's activated. And, as you would suspect from how I'm describing Iceweiss, her skill can be activated when you choose to activate it. However, be forewarned that characters who have skills that can be activated at times of your choosing will go through an initial 1 second or so cooldown period for their skill to become available after they have been deployed. So if you have any thoughts of dropping Iceweiss down and then immediately using her to ice the competition, you're going to have to exercise slightly more patience than you might have initially thought. Consequently, you can use the Iceweiss skill offensively or defensively depending on the situation. However, due to the wind-up of the skill when you activate it, you need to be careful of the timing, especially if your opponent also has an Iceweiss on the field, because you can easily be iced before you can ice them, and that will shift the tide of the entire battle against you, and not only will you have to wait those agonizing several seconds to be able to bring out someone, anyone, to defend your structures, you will also have to deal with the fact that you now have to work extra hard to turn the tide of battle back into your favor. Iceweiss has a skill that can easily make or break a match depending on how you use it. Yes, use it whenever you can, but mind the timing so that you don't find yourself on the losing side should the momentum shift against you. Next, we have Jean. Jean. So at this point, he does not seem to have a semblance. I'm hoping that when the full game is released, we will see a different version of Jean somewhere in one of the Mistral areas where he can use his aura to give the same kind of healing effect that we see towards the end of RWBY Volume 5. But I'm getting off track here. Speculations on how different characters can be given a second character model that's more in line with their semblance will have to wait until a separate video where I go over my ideas for what can be done with some of the characters and some of the things that could possibly be done for RWBY Amity Arena in the future. For now, we need to stay on track with this. And this Jean, as I was saying before, has no semblance. However, he does have a shield, and that means that with his shield, even with him only being a 3 aura bar drop possibly common character, if I remember correctly, he still is a surprisingly good tank, especially when you get him to higher levels. And let me tell you, I really like that for so many reasons. Example, you could go for a Winter Night combo where you have Jean deployed and he's moving ahead as sort of a buffer character with Weiss deployed a little bit behind him. Then when he's getting closer to the danger zone or to where enemies are, Weiss can zoom in and ice the area where he's immediately at. Or she can be even with him, or maybe even a little ahead of him. And then she can leap to where she needs to use her freezing attack as needed, and Jean can come in and help clean up those frozen enemies, provided they can be bopped before they become unfrozen and start fighting back. So yes, that is both interesting and nice. I have used it to, well, varying degrees of effect, depending on the situation, but that's more for just Jean on his own rather than doing the Winter Night combo. That's something I need to make note of for when the game comes out so I could try it, because I get the feeling it would be very useful. Now, let's get into Scythe RWBY. And ho boy, Scythe RWBY. She is a rare character, orange border, as explained with how the rarity system works in my prior video. I'll leave an end card for it at the end of this video, and a link to it in the description below. And let me tell you, she is fun for so many reasons. Reason numero uno, she has a leap attack that activates whenever she gets close enough to an enemy, so she's able to hit them before they're able to hit her. Reason numero dos, her attack is not a single unit attack. It is a wide range attack all in front of her that hits anything that is too close in front of her. And let me tell you, that is amazing. It also makes her a decent choice for dealing with a Zerg rush of baby scorpions, which is something you can get in Arena 1. And that will be the first arena that you're dealing with, so for those who are immediately able to get more character cards, yeah, you'll have to deal with that from those guys. Probably. But also probably not, for reasons that I will go into when I am covering those Arena 1 characters in my next video. For now, suffice to say that while Scythe RWBY can get bopped if she's surrounded by too many enemies, whether they're the more durable ones or the ones that can normally be easily taken care of if, you know, you're not getting swarmed by them, the fact that she can leap at things from a distance and that she can hit several enemies at once with her scythe attack makes her a serious contender as an ally and an enemy unit. So you definitely want to keep an eye out for people who have that and come up with different strategies for dealing with it. Next we have Yatsuhashi, and he is also an orange rare character, and he is a 5-drop. And I'll tell you why he's a 5-drop. 2 reasons. One, he's a tank! And tanks are good. The second reason why he is a 5-drop is because when he comes in, he smashes into the ground. He doesn't just show up and start wailing at people. No, he slams down on top of them from above, causing a shockwave all around him that immediately kills weaker enemies and will send stronger enemies into the air for a short duration. Maybe about a second or so, second and a half. I haven't timed it exactly, but it's just enough for him to recover from his skill being activated upon deployment and wailing at anyone that is left. Now, he can only attack one person at a time, which kind of stinks, because that means that if you're surrounded by multiple enemies and not all of them got killed immediately when he came out, they can chip away at his health and he has less chance of doing more damage to the enemy structures when he gets in their area because, of course, you start getting attacked by enemy turrets the moment you enter their territory. However, even with all of that, he is still a strong contender when he's brought out. And while you probably won't be able to bring him out too often just because of the restrictive aura cost, to where it takes half of your max possible aura meter, it can still do a lot for you. Still, big drops like that need some backup. And that is why we have some of the lower characters that we currently have. And by lower, I mean lower aura usage. So, now that the hunters for Arena 0, the training grounds, have been covered, let us move on to the non-hunters, of which there are 3. Ringing in the head of the non-hunter pack are the White Fang Gunners. They are a 2 aura drop, and it deploys 3 gunners with low HP. Now these are guys that normally you don't want to use offensively. You want to use them defensively and place them right next to your turrets, because then not only are your incoming enemies getting hit with turret fire, they're also getting hit with weapons fire from your White Fang Gunners, which means it's easier to take care of incoming forces when they're trying to come in and wreck your day. Now obviously, once they've finished protecting your turret and there are no enemies in their path, they will head for the enemy structures, and they will probably get bopped before they can do too much damage, because ranged units are squishy as all get out. But they might get a few hits in, and really, that's all they need. And hey, if you're able to get a tank in front of them, Jean anybody, you can use that to protect them from fire as they're heading into enemy territory. And if your opponent manages to send in some enemy units to counter your guys, Jean soaks up the DPS while your guys attack your opponent's units from a distance. And I'd say that's a pretty decent strategy. Now immediately following the White Fang Gunners are the White Fang Thugs. And like the White Fang Gunners, this brings in 3 White Fang Thugs. Yes, they also have low HP. This is in part because, like the White Fang Thugs, they are a multi-unit summon for only 2 bars of aura. So, of course, they're going to be squishier even than your normal single ranged unit summon. However, they hit like a truck. You manage to get these guys over to the enemy structure while it's frozen, or dealing with someone ahead of them that is soaking up the damage, and let me tell you, they will go to town. In fact, there is a better version of them that you get in Arena 2. I will be covering that in my Arena 2 video next week, so look forward to that. The White Fang Thugs are something that you will also primarily use defensively because, again, they're squishy. They have low HP, they hit hard, and there are 3 of them for only 2 aura bars. So these are guys that you want to have by your structures when enemies are getting a little too close for comfort, and are a decent alternative to your White Fang Gunners when they're not available. Consequently, even if they're not able to help the turrets completely take out the enemy units, they're still able to do a decent amount of damage and slow them down, so it may save you from taking as much damage to your structures as you would have if you were to take any damage at all. And now, rounding out the non-hunters are the AK-200s, which, despite the name, deploys 2 AK-130 Atlassian droid gunners. Now, this is one of those areas where I'm thinking maybe there was a typo that needs to be taken care of for, when it gets released globally, because the AK-200 releasing 2 AK-130 Atlassian droid gunners, whereas the AK-130, which you get in a future arena, which is a 5-drop, deploys 4 AK-200s. And I'm like, okay, why though? So, maybe it's a typo, maybe it isn't. If it is, I'm sure it'll get taken care of before the full release towards the end of October, and just before RWBY Volume 6. Now, as to these guys, I don't know if I would have them in there unless I was having them in there in place of the White Fang Thugs for more protection for my structures when I am deploying them defensively. Beyond that, really it's down to personal preference. Since there are only 2 of them being deployed, and they cost 3 aura to do so, I'm guessing that they might pack a bit more of a punch, or might have a higher defense so that they don't get killed as quickly and aren't as squishy. That's really something that I didn't see too much difference with when I was trying out the 2 different ones on day 1, and after day 1 I basically didn't use them. And rounding out the units for this whole video, our one and only Grim unit for the training grounds is the Ursa Minor. He is a 5-drop. He is a freaking tank. And he is a common, but he completely ignores all of your enemies' units, and he just goes straight for the structure. Just straight for it. He's like, I don't care about you guys. Keep wailing on me. I'm gonna power through and wreck your base. Dang? Question mark? Now, personally, I feel like the Ursa Minor is a unit that you would only deploy towards the end of the match, during the last half of it, or during sudden death. And that is for 2 reasons. One, he moves hella slow. He is probably the slowest unit in the game at that point. And I don't know if there's any that move slower than him throughout the entirety of the game, but damn. And not defending himself against enemies is also a problem. So even though he can power through them and just keep going towards those structures, be completely undistracted because nothing other than wrecking those structures means anything worth a darn to it, that's still dangerous. So, you will want to have a pair of gunners immediately behind him, if possible, in order to protect him from enemy forces as he's advancing. Believe me, that is essential to have any chance at reaching enemy structures. That is entirely possible to manage, and especially in the last minute or 2 if you're in sudden death of a match. So, yeah, definite possibility. Speaking of strategies, there are a few you can go for here with varying levels of aura drain. Which ones you can use more regularly than the others depends on how much aura that you have available at any given time, very much a resource management aspect, and what part of the game you are in for your different matches, because if you aren't in the last minute of a match or in sudden death, it will be more difficult to pull off high aura cost combos. And honestly, I don't see a whole lot of low drops. The lowest drop characters that we have here are the White Fangs Gunners and the White Fang Thugs. So basically just the White Fang members currently. Now, granted, if you play the game well enough and you are careful enough with how you spend your resources, this isn't as much of a problem, especially when you can see the points where, yes, your opponent has enemy units advancing, but they've spent their aura while yours is still building. So that gives you a little bit of time to plan out your best attack, or rather, your best defense, depending on the situation, while waiting for your aura bars to increase just that little bit more as they get closer to your structures. Now obviously you'll have a chance to get more characters in Arena 1, as it's the first arena you go in once you're done in the training grounds, which is the tutorial level, and you only go through that once. Now whether you immediately get some of the characters upon going into Arena 1, or whether you have to get them as rewards in those victory boxes at the end of matches, or by getting them in the store page by using the special premium dust currency for RWBY Amity Arena, or SPD for short. SPD emergency! And it's I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see how that works when RWBY Amity Arena releases in about a month. But for now, here are your characters that you get right at the beginning for free that you can already do a fair number of things with, whether it's doing the Shotgun Ice combo, the Winter Night combo, whether you want to go for Winter Reaper, Winter Tank, a few other possible combinations. And you'll notice that in keeping with the theme of RWBY, I am using combo names that are a little more creative than just saying, oh, it's a combination of these two characters. And given the character roster, I'm sure you can figure out fairly easily who is involved in those different combinations on your own. As for covering more of the characters, I'm afraid that will have to wait till the next video. But worry not. Much like Winter, that video is coming, and it will be released to you this Monday. Until next time, if you enjoyed watching, please be sure to like, leave a comment, subscribe for more of my videos, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a new video. And until next time, this is Torma Ximnus, signing off. Stay frosty, my friends. And try not to get bought by ice twice!